Welcome back for one last trip to Blackstone. Before we finish it, let's load an earlier save from the time when we weren't locked out of most of the hospital and take a walk.
You're limping, Oliver. Muscle pains. The third symptom.
Blackstone Chronicles tells us first and foremost about the psychiatric treatments from the first half of the 20th century, only mentioning the more recent development. Let's try to fix that. Ignoring experimental treatment procedures, the main new thing introduced in the 50s were antipsychotics or neuroleptics. They are drugs which temporarily block the receptors of certain hormones inside your brain. This essentially reduces the brain's overstimulation, pacifies and lets you collect your thoughts. Neuroleptics work, usually, and they allow clinics to return patients to society, effectively treating acute episodes and alleviating chronic conditions. It's magic, especially compared to what we've seen in the game. However, unfortunately, our brain is responsible for more than just thinking, it also regulates bodily functions. Antipsychotic side effects can hit all of them. And it's like a box of chocolates, you never know what you'll get. That's why if you're ever prescribed such treatment for the first time, you'll definitely have to start it under observation in a hospital. What side effects can there be? Well, your body temperature can change, your blood pressure can change, you might start sweating a lot or have difficulty getting rid of liquid.
It's locked. I don't know which key to use.
You might start swelling up somewhere. Say, a subtle swelling around your orbit can prevent your eyes from converging in one spot without conscious effort, for example. You could begin to gain weight. Usually the most prominent side effect is tremors, muscle spasms, involuntary movements, or rigid muscles. And this one is nasty because it can become permanent and stay with you even after the treatment is over. Supposedly, the newer atypical neuroleptics are less dangerous in that regard, but they all can mess you up pretty badly. The worst scenario is the so-called neuroleptic malignant syndrome, all the bad side effects coupled with intense fever. It has a good chance of being fatal if ignored. That's why you need clinical environments in the early stages of your treatment, in case your brain decides to cook itself. Very few people get away with no side effects at all, so there's usually another element to antipsychotic treatment. In Russia at least, they call it a corrector, some medication to counter the side effects. But in the words of William Burroughs, treatment is symptomatic, which in the trade means there is none. Most likely you'll be given something from the range of drugs developed to combat the Parkinson's syndrome. You know, to reduce the risk and intensity of tremors and spasms. Everything else is your problem, unless it's an extreme condition, like your blood pressure being so high or so low you can't sit up in bed. So overall, usually, a person undergoing this kind of treatment feels like shit. Which brings us to the third element of the antipsychotic treatment trinity, antidepressants. Also introduced in the 50s, they are supposed to restore the normal concentration of the happy hormones inside your brain through various means. But they will neither make you forget all your troubles, nor improve your mood by themselves. Although seeing that depression is often present in patients with other disorders, and the treatment is not particularly comfortable itself, they can't hurt. Oh wait, the side effects lists for antidepressants are miles long and can include withdrawal symptoms after the treatment is over, or even suicidal thoughts while you're taking them. And their normal effects can be pretty bizarre too. You talk to a guy without a single trace of joy in his voice, but he can't stop smiling without effort. It's like he's got hooks in the sides of his mouth. Can be really odd in some places. I've read about a study recently claiming that Russia, Norway, and some other cultures see smiling at strangers as a sign of stupidity. Anyway, with all the side effects and several kinds of pills fighting each other inside your brain, it's no wonder many patients can't take it all. They stop taking the medication altogether, secretly. It does not bring an immediate relief though. Neuroleptics can easily stay in your system for a couple of weeks. To sum it up, even though antipsychotic treatment is better than an ice pick in your brain, it's still taxing, exhausting, potentially dangerous, and somewhat scary. But at least lobotomy isn't used as frequently anymore and is now the last resort only in the most extreme cases. The developers did a good job researching the treatment, and in a subtle way they did manage to convey the general atmosphere of psychiatric clinics, some of which stays there even today. The remarks about the attendants acting strange, the patients being the nicest people, the isolation in the crowded building, even that unnerving state of not knowing when you get out, that's not the writer's own creation, it's definitely coming from patients' accounts. I can tell based on a brief first-hand experience. No, it was not pseudosciences, shut up. Nothing serious, I hope, they never told me. Claimed they weren't allowed to. I think it's a relic from the time when Soviet psychiatry was used as a means of imprisonment. It was a chill, low-intensity sanitarium unit. We were even allowed to go home for the weekends. The other 5 days a week were on a strict timetable, though. There was at least one man there who wasn't even a psychiatric patient. He was recovering from a stroke and requested to be transferred from neurology to psychiatry, because it was nicer and not so gloomy. So about the staff in the hospital being weird, you definitely get the impression that they're the loonies after a while. 2 examples. 1. Our unit used a much simpler security scheme than this place. Only a few rooms were under lock and key at all times, and most doors were locked with a simple spring latch. Normally, the way you open them is by turning the door handle, right? Well, imagine that all the door handles are removed. Yeah, every doctor and nurse had their own handle in the pocket of their white coat and used it to get around. Imagine getting ready for the morning rounds. Read histories, need to test this guy, check this fellow's condition. Oh, and the door handle. Hell, imagine visiting friends after a day's shift and trying to pocket every handle in the apartment. Another example. We had mini fridges in our wards for things like fruit we were allowed to bring there. But there was also a dry snacks closet near the nurse's station, which was where you were supposed to keep your cookies, biscuits, and most importantly, your tea. Coffee was not allowed. So if you wanted tea, you had to grab your cup, go all the way to the closet for a tea bag, go all the way to the hot water tank, and then make your tea. To keep later trips short, you might want to grab 2 bags, and the nurse would bust you for excessive teabagging. Yes, you could only take 1 at a time, because otherwise you could make extra strong tea with 2 bags and get overexcited. Fun times. Still wouldn't want to go back. Instead, let's go back to the game and finish it.
Don't be afraid, Oliver. Come to Papa. It is all that remains of my earthly form. The rest has disintegrated. Don't be afraid. You are too late, Oliver. They are not here. You have refused to see things my way, so I have begun to train Joshua, as I warned you I would. Once I am sure he is mine, you will no longer be of value. It saddens me to kill you. I have done my best as a parent to educate you, and clearly I have not succeeded. I genuinely regret that we could not have been closer. I know I have failed you in some way, but I also know that you have failed me. Goodbye, Oliver.
Dad, Grandpa came and got us. Mom's sick, but Grandpa told me how to wake her up. I might have to hurt her a little, but Grandpa says it's okay.
Listen to me, Joshua. Go up to the attic and open the box at the top of the stairs.
I'm not supposed to go up there by myself.
It's all right, Joshua. There's something up there that will make your mom better.
Well, okay.
Okay, so this is another time sequence. At least I think it's timed. It might be tied to the number of actions you perform. I'm going to let it fail just to see whatever happens then, and examine the area.
Look your last, Oliver. Soon you and your friends will all be dead.
After all Malcolm did to that poor boy, now this.
Take it, if you think it'll help.
Now's not the time for frills and lace, lad.
Is this okay, Dad?
Don't worry about your dad, Joshua. He can't help you right now. But together, you and I will make sure that your mom gets better.
Malcolm means to destroy all of us. You must destroy him first.
It is all that remains of my earthly form. The rest has disintegrated.
An exit?
You probably don't remember, but that's a tunnel to your house. It comes up behind a secret panel in your cellar.
What? This entire trip to the asylum was unnecessary.
No, no more games. You will stay here. Joshua will become mine, and you will die. Take the small case and bring it downstairs.
Is this the one?
That's the one, Joshua. Now be careful with it. It has a very sharp razor inside. That's Elizabeth McGuire, your first victim as the dark figure. Don't you remember Oliver? Jules Hartwick. You incinerated Martha Ward alive. She was a nasty woman. She deserved to die. Rebecca Morrison. She should be dead by now, too. Raymond Wong. We never got to him.
I don't like this.
I know it's hard, Joshua, but it's the only way to help your mother. Troublemaker. Ed Becker was nothing but a troublemaker. You were right to kill her. Germaine Wagner should have been dead years ago. When Joshua is mine, Jim Montanus is the first one I'll send him after. That's Elizabeth McGuire.
All of these are references to the books. There isn't much else to see here.
Be quiet, Oliver. I'm concentrating.
Won't it hurt her?
Sometimes you have to hurt people in order to help them get better. It's one of the hard parts of being a doctor. It was a gift to me from a Russian.
Maybe I can do something with the case.
It's too small.
Let's try something different then.
No, Oliver. I am the master here.
We'll need to weaken Malcolm to make any progress later. While I'm killing time, might as well mention a few similar games. If you feel like a bit of horror, a bit of edutainment, and a bit of adventure, I can recommend Cosmology of Kyoto. It's a trip through the ancient capital of Japan where all the legends come to life. And it uses traditional Japanese art, which gives us a very unique visual style.
You keep trying, but you can't bring yourself.
I believe the developers have released it free in a Windows Ready package a while ago, Kyoto Windows.
Ugh.
I'm scared. Daddy, I don't want to do this.
It's the only way, Joshua. Do it on the count of 3.
Impressive. I was not expecting the voice acting to get so much worse. You could also try Sanitarium, however it's neither a documentary nor a game about psychiatry, it's just very atmospheric and insane. Now, if you enjoy the puzzle style of this game, the only thing I can recommend is other games by Legend, in particular Gateway 1 and 2 and Eric the Unready. They are interactive fiction and require text input, but they have nice art, and their puzzles are really sensible for the most part. You always get clues if you pay attention. Even most of Eric makes sense, and it's a parody of a fantasy epic with Star Trek references.
Look your last, Oliver.
Bob Bates, who wrote and designed Blackstone, did a lot of work with Michael Verdu at the time. Michael has a similar design style, which you can experience in Mission Critical. It's a point-and-click adventure game for DOS. It uses sci-fi settings, pre-rendered 3D graphics, and live-action cutscenes. The puzzles are very down-to-earth, though.
It's too small.
It's similar to this one in the sense that you find spare parts and tools in the appropriate storage, and you have to use common sense to, say, find a leak in your compartment on a spaceship and mend the damage. It's said that with Legend being rewired from an adventure game developer to a 3D shooter studio, this style of puzzles has pretty much faded into obscurity. Although, to be fair, all adventure games around the late 90s had a bit of a crisis. Yeah, this ending timer is definitely tied to the number of actions you take rather than actual seconds. Which is very confusing because every countdown before that was a real-time sequence.
The word you seek is the thing itself.
Although I suppose if you're actively trying to solve this section, it will run down pretty fast.
Oliver. I'm concentrating. 1, 2, 3.
Mama!
Not much of a bad ending. Let's do it properly.
Sharp.
The first step is to cut the nutcracker.
What are you doing? Stop! That was foolish, Oliver.
The sneaky bastard! His spirits moved to the damn journal!
He doesn't seem as strong as he was before.
Game, you would have looked better without these last voice clips.
Stop, Oliver. No more. I'm warning you.
The skull! He's in the skull!
Each object you destroy seems to reduce his power.
Take the small case and
Is
that.
How much power does Malcolm have now?
I warned you, Oliver.
I don't like this.
I know it's hard, Joshua, but it's the only way to help your mother. I'm sorry, Oliver. I tried to help you, but you wouldn't listen. I truly am sorry. I have said all I intend to say, Oliver. We have nothing further to discuss. Soon Joshua will be mine. Then I will deal with you.
Good luck, Oliver.
I'm scared.
The last steps.
Where's Dad, Mom?
He just went out for a little while. He'll be back soon.
I had a really bad dream.
It's okay, Josh. Sometimes we have bad dreams, and it's hard to tell whether they're real or not.
I was scared.
I know, but Mommy and Daddy love you, and everything is fine. See? Here he is now.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too, Josh. Don't worry. The bad guys are gone now. It's all over. No one will ever hurt you again.
Thanks, but the game's better. Anyway, here's the end credits. Thanks for watching, I'm out of here.